Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon. And today, Brandon, we got a very special guest on the show. My brother-in-law, Mike Huber, is joining us today. Mike, say hi to everyone at home.
Hi, everyone.
So Mike's going to be joining us today. He's going to talk to us a little bit about having more than one, because that's going to be my reality here pretty soon, Brandon. If it was Macy's way, it might be in the next day or two. But basically, you know, this show is called Dad Jokes for a reason. So let's get started today with a dad joke. And Mike, if you don't know, we have a dad joke every single episode. I give one and Brandon gives one. Usually mine's better than his, but we'll see how we do today. But Brandon, I'll let you kick off. I'll let you get us started, set the tempo today with a dad joke of your own.
So Jerry, Mike, hey, you gave him kind of a weak introduction. This happens to be probably my favorite person to watch a Michigan football game with, Michigan football or basketball. So you need to do a better job next time when we're introing Mike.
More hype. I'll let you do the intros from now on.
Yeah, well, you probably should. What do you call someone who only believes in 12.5% of the Bible?
There's got to be some kind of math joke in there, but I don't know.
An eighth theist.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
We need Mike on more often. He even laughed at my joke. This is a great start.
He gave you. Well, he's been a dad longer than both of us, so he's well versed in dad jokes. So that was pretty good. He might even give us one here later in the show. But Brandon, before we get into today's topic, which I'm excited for, what's been going on with you and Bryce and the Banks household this last week?
So I mean, it's been a lot of fun. We just had a 3-day weekend, which is not that common in our household. So we spent a ton of family time together. And the great thing about this weekend is I feel like every time I have any kind of day off or time off, something is like my entire day is planned to a T. Like we're going somewhere or somebody's coming over. We have multiple things going on. And we had something going on, like Kelsey's parents, Bryce's grandparents came through on Sunday. Had a good time. They actually helped with some yard work and stuff like that. But we all like enjoyed time as a family. Other than that, we just got stuff done around the house, hung out as a family. It was absolutely great. But he spent a lot of time with his water table and sink on the deck and in the yard. We got intimate with a couple bees that I quickly called orking out. And so bees are no longer, carpenter bees too. They're no longer there. But it was our first time spending a decent amount of time on the deck. And I thought we had resolved the issue last year because we completely redid our deck, got everything out, like pulled all the boards out. They came right back. So that might be a yearly thing that we have to do.
How do you know they're carpenter bees?
I mean, there's Google to start, but then
I just never heard. Like you said, carpenter bees. I'm thinking like, okay, what's a carpenter bee look like? It's not a big one, but it's not a wasp.
It actually,
it's like a different type of bee.
So here's the annoying thing about these bees. They burrow holes in like if you have a wood deck or wood, they basically burrow little holes in there. Their hive is like inside of the wood, and they're kind of going at. I don't know what they're doing in there, but it's not supposed to be good for like the foundation of your deck and stuff like that, allegedly. But my biggest issue is it'll be like 4 or 5 like guard bees, and they just fly around you. They don't sting you. They just like you remember like middle school. I don't know if you guys did this in middle school, but a big thing was like you flinch at people. Like you might walk up to them and kind of jump at them. That's all these bees do.
They did to Kobe.
Bro, exactly. That's a great visual. That's all these bees do. So you got the male like guardian bees. I know way too much about this now. That'll
so.
just fly.
The right
they'll fly in like this general area. They're guarding their nest, and if you get close, they like kind of run up at you and jump at you, and then they go about their business, wait a little bit. But if you're sitting on a deck, you got this bee and they're fat, like they're big, fat, intimidating bees. But they don't sting. But I'm not sitting on my deck trying to enjoy my backyard and got these bees jumping at me. And so those bees are not there anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to go. So that was fun. And then I know we've been talking about the infamous soccer team that Peyton and Bryce are going to be on in a month. Bryce and I have been practicing. Yeah, they've been practicing soccer with no luck, or we've been practicing soccer. So Bryce thinks that kick means throw. Every time I say, hey, "Can you kick?" he picks that thing up and he does. He throws it great, but that's not the point of that game. So hopefully the ball goes.
Can be goalies together because she don't.
Hey, if the ball goes out of bounds a lot, we'll be good because he can do the sideline throws over the head. We'll be good. But it was a pretty tame week. But I mean, we're at the stage in the game. He just turned 21 months yesterday. Like this is, I keep saying this, but this is my favorite time. Like he's great. Generally in a good mood. Like happy from the moment he wakes up until you tell him he can't do something, and then he's not happy for a couple seconds, and after that we're good. So absolutely the my favorite time. That's something actually, Mike, I'm gonna ask you a little bit later, having 3 shots at it, what's some of your favorite ages in that range. That's a little spoiler alert for later in the episode. But what you been up to this week, Jerry?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the soccer thing, Brandon, because literally yesterday I was trying to teach Peyton soccer all night, and all she kept doing is picking the ball up and throwing it. But then today at work, we have another coworker whose son's going to be in our soccer class. He come up to me out of nowhere, and he goes, "Hey, Peyton better be ready for soccer because Oliver's going to be dribbling all around her and dominating her on the pitch." And I'm like, well, she's 18 months, so congrats.
Well, his kid's even younger.
Yeah, I know. He's got his kid dialed in, apparently. He's bragging it up. So we got to do some extra practices.
Well, he allegedly played soccer in high school, too.
Yeah,
he was a goalie, but I heard about him. He wasn't that good.
I like it. But anyways, yeah, we got to practice soccer. But, yeah, our week was busy. I mean, anytime you get the holidays, it's pretty busy. We had a lot of things going on. I got to see Mike during a lot of it. But we had my niece's birthday party, which was a lot of fun because there's a lot of toys that Peyton can interact with. So it was kind of nice because I didn't have to – I could just like watch her play with all these different toys that were kind of geared towards her age. And then the next day we had my dad's party, which was okay. I want to actually blame Michael and his son for making that day harder than it needed to be because Peyton, we put down, we thought we were being smart, Brandon. We got there early. We were going to put Peyton down. She doesn't nap well in other places. I put her down. It took forever. I thought it was like a top 10 dad moment in my life because I somehow got her to sleep with trying to sleep in this tiny little Dora bed, Dora the Explorer bed. I'm like laying in there with her, convincing her to go to sleep because she wouldn't let me let her go. Finally, I get her down and she's sleeping. And like 30 minutes later, she's awake. I'm like, why the heck is she up? Well, my little nephew ran into the room looking for something and woke her right up. And she was pretty cranky the rest of the day. So I'm going to blame Mike.
How is that anybody's? That's not Mike's fault.
I got to blame
Peyton fell asleep. Peyton, yeah.
You can't put them to sleep in the kids' room that they're going to be in.
That's what I was told by Grandma and Grandpa. I agree. Yeah. I tried to get them in a different room. Grandma and Grandpa said, no, you got to go in this room. And I'm like, this is good. I even told Macy, this is going to be a horrible idea. She goes, we'll put a sign on the door. I said, a sign? The people are going to run in the room, don't read signs.
A sign on the door.
I said, that ain't going to work. Sure enough, it didn't work. But it was fine. It was a good day. She's just a little cranky. And then Monday, we got to spend some time outside and had some fun. And then last night, we got to go out to dinner. It was interesting, Brandon, and we went out with a couple other couples. Actually, 2 of the dads that have been on the show before, Jason and Ryan, and then their wives and their kids. So there was a bunch of kids at the table. It was kind of crazy. All the kids were pretty well behaved. That was kind of fun. I was definitely anxious about that. Got some frozen yogurt afterwards, so that was all good. But the big news for us lately has been that Peyton's finally starting to wear shoes consistently. She's not fighting us on that. So that is exciting, especially with soccer coming up. And then the other thing is that, Macy's ready. Any day now, she's ready for that baby to come. So I'd be surprised if we make it more than a week or 2 from now because it seems like the baby's ready. She's definitely ready. So we're definitely in crunch time, T-3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks to our due date. So we're getting there, Brandon.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting but scary.
And one thing I forgot to mention, we for the first time as a family are camping today.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
outside,
you
in
guys
the
think
bag.
that
I'm like,
no.
Brandon's not capping. There's zero.
I
chance
get a
this is
call.
happening.
I get a call from Kelsey as I'm about to come home, and it's hey, our air conditioning isn't working.
Oh
And
yes.
very annoying for me. 'Cause when I bought this house, they told me there was a new AC unit, so no one can come out and look at it. We kind of fiddle around with things a little bit, and I start watching YouTube videos to try to see if I can fix it. And I'm like, this is a little bit more complicated than I need. So
Bang on
we
it with a wrench.
yeah, but it's very warm. I'm upstairs right now in the guest room, and you guys probably will be seeing me sweat. It's a little warm, but we're all downstairs in the basement having a camp out. So Bryce and Kelsey are supposed to be asleep downstairs right now.
It's got to be the
I'll
worst
join
week
them
for the
after.
AC to go out. It's like
Yeah,
85 to 90 in Michigan, which is rare in May. So
That was actually I asked Kelsey what should my dad joke be this week, and she looked at me with a straight face and said, "What happens on the hottest day of the year? You lose your blank AC," and a blank was not a kid friendly word.
I like it. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon, one thing I'll start this week with going over my baby gear for the week, because one thing that I've noticed is if you go to other houses with parents who have kids, especially kids that are older than your kids, you'll find new baby gear that maybe you didn't want to find, because you got kids a little bit older, so there might be things you're not looking for, and then you'll start to find some things that you're like, man, I kind of want that. So it's bad for your wallet. It's probably good in the long run, but basically I found out when I was at my brother-in-law and sister's house for my niece's birthday party that they have these things called magnet tiles. I had never heard of those. Apparently they're very, very popular. Well, they had a ton of them, and these things are really cool. If you've never seen them before, look them up. They're like tiles that like have magnets in them, and they kind of like allow you to build different buildings and shapes and craziness. It's like Legos, but like in blocks. And I kid you not, there was my 3-year-old niece playing with them, my 6-year-old niece playing with them, grown-ups playing with them. I mean, it was like a bunch of people were building all these crazy things. They have an Instagram page you can follow. I mean, they're really cool. They're not cheap. But I think definitely in our future we'll see some magnet tiles in our house, because if nothing else, it'll keep me entertained. And I think it's kind of a fun thing to do, and they don't take up a ton of space. So I don't know, Brandon, have you ever heard of those before? Because I'd never heard of those until I was there.
Yeah, I've seen them, and they've come up on if you look at like some Montessori toys, things like that, you may see magnet tiles come up. And I honestly, surprising for me, I stopped at the price point at where we were with Bryce. I was like, we might be a year or two away from these for him to actually play with them.
Said.
Yeah, right now all he'd do is take it and probably try to spin it on the ground. So we'll revisit it. We'll revisit it in just a little bit.
Did you have any baby gear to go over this week, Brandon?
My baby gear this week, he's been using it basically since it's been warm outside. But it's a B Toys. They sell it at Target. Kitchen sink play set. And I actually think you or Peyton may have this. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it's basically a sink. We have it set up right next to his water table outside. And you put water in the base, and it basically recirculates the water through, so the faucet works like a real faucet. And Bryce loves going over there and turning the faucet on. Like, he practices washing his hands in it. Super cute, not that expensive, and he's gotten literal hours into playing with this thing, way more than you think a sink would get. But that's his thing right now.
So these water tables, Brandon, because Peyton's got one too. They're kind of great because they keep your kid entertained, but they get disgusting quick. I don't understand how just water and a plastic table can get nasty, but I swear that water is like swamp water after a day, and it's like slimy.
Are you leaving it
nasty.
outside?
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's the answer.
I don't know. I mean, it might be the answer, but it's just like I gotta refill that thing like every day because it grosses me out. But like, she loves that thing, but she also doesn't understand that like the water can stay in the actual table. It doesn't have to go on you. So basically, I just know whatever I put her in, it's gonna be coming off as soon as she's done playing, because she will be soaked within like 6 seconds of playing in that thing. But they're fun.
So I know the people are waiting to hear from Mike. One quick thing on the water table. Kelsey saw something from Carrie Locker, who she follows on Instagram, and we basically bought it's like a fish tank circulator, like water circulator, and it takes the water from like the bottom of the water table and puts it at the top, and it makes dad's arms feel a lot better because you get kind of tired of dumping the bucket of water at the top and seeing it come through. It does all the work for you. So it's that's something to investigate if you guys listening are interested, because that becomes an issue very quickly when you 2 minutes in of just dumping water. You don't love it.
No, you don't. But let's get into today's topic, and let's get Mike in the conversation here. So, Mike, before we start asking you questions and grilling you with some expertise of dadness that we believe you have, because you definitely got some more time on the job than us, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of the family at home.
Yeah, thanks. So, my name is Michael, as Jerry and Brandon said. I am married to Jerry's sister, and we live in Grand Rapids. I'm a CPA at an accounting firm in Grand Rapids, and we have 3 kids. A girl, Ariana, she's 7. A boy, James, he's 5. And our baby is Braden, and he's 3.
Yep, 3 kids. So, obviously I have one, Brandon has one, we got a second one on the way, but I think that's kind of part of the reason we wanted to have you on the show, Mike. We've had quite a few guests on the show, and usually we have like first-time dads, but obviously there's lots of people out there that aren't first-time dads, and myself, about to be a second-time dad, I think the first question I'd ask is what was the biggest difference going from 1 to 2? Like what was changed the most in your guys' day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think first of all, those first couple weeks are not as stressful with number 2 in general. You've been through it before, and not every baby's the same, but you at least have some idea of where to begin, and that makes a big difference. I've heard, and I agree with it. I think sometimes baby number 2 can hit the dad a little bit harder because, maybe some of the things mom was taking care of, now there's 2 and mom needs help. And so, sometimes the toddler demands mom, and that means baby needs to hang out with dad maybe than number 1 did, or vice versa. The toddler wants dad, and you're hanging with your toddler. So, obviously there's more going on when there's 2, but at least for me, there wasn't that kind of first couple weeks of, man, what are we doing? Like, scared the baby's not eating enough. So, some of those fears, I think, lessen with each kid just because you have more experience.
Did you feel that the pregnancy from Ari to James was any different, or Jamie, excuse me?
Not really.
And what I mean by that, I'm sorry to cut you off. From your perspective, obviously your wife may have a completely different answer,
yeah.
But I know Jerry and I have talked about how crazy we felt with the first kid, and you feel like there's a period of time where you gotta get prepared for everything, and then there's lag time, and then I think Jerry, you've experienced a little bit less of that. I don't want to call it a sense of urgency, but you feel like you kind of what's coming. You feel prepared for it.
By to a degree. The last little bit hasn't, but yeah, it for me at least it's been a totally different experience just because you're taking care of a kid, as opposed to just waiting for one. So I don't know. Yeah, but Mike, I don't know if it was different for you.
Yeah, I remember with Ari, our first, having a little bit of a hard time kind of believing a baby was coming. A baby's coming, but it just, I don't know. And I don't know if part of it was we didn't know the gender with her, and so, it was this concept of, yes, there's going to be a baby, but it just, I had a hard time having it feel real to me. And then we did find out the gender with our second, James. And so, I think maybe that was part of it, but I think it's amazing. You think, oh well, we had Ari 4 days early. Brienne's water broke, which makes it easy to know when to go to the hospital. So that's what we were expecting. The second time, well, James was a week late, had to be induced. Kind of a totally different experience in terms of waiting for baby that last week or two. So, that was definitely interesting, and every baby and every pregnancy is different that way.
Yeah, we're gonna have Macy not listen to that section because
I was just about to say the same thing.
The second one is gonna be a week late. Then she might be a single parent because I might get murdered. She also, like, the last time, when she was in her third trimester, it was winter. Well, I think it being summer, she's just hot, and then she's got a toddler hanging on her. So and it's just been, she's definitely over it. But obviously something you have kind of a unique perspective on, Mike, too, that I won't even have yet, is that you guys had a girl first. You didn't know. We didn't know either. But then you had a boy second, and then you had another boy. But between having a baby girl and a baby boy, did you notice any differences? Do you think that there was any, and even now that they're older, have you noticed any differences with having, raising a girl versus raising a boy, and just even yourself, or, just how they interact with dad versus mom?
Yeah, I think at the baby stage, I don't think there's much difference. I think what I found when James was a baby, and, something I wasn't, ultra proud of, I found myself having a little bit less patience with him in those first couple weeks, that baby phase. And, I don't know if that was partially due to gender, just, having, two kids and, being a little overwhelmed. But, I think as they've gotten older, our family has gravitated toward, daddy, daughter, mommy, sons. My daughter, I still put her to bed most of the time. She still usually asks for me, whereas the boys hardly ever want me for bed. And I mean, like, I put them to bed sometimes, but very rarely do they really want me. They'd much prefer my wife. So that has been kind of interesting. I don't really know why that is. We wanted to, you think about it with your first, a little bit more, because you have a little bit more time on your hands during that pregnancy. We wanted to expose Ari to all kinds of things, boy things, girl things. We didn't want to push her, one way or the other. But, just her natural personality, she gravitated to very girly things. And our boys have gravitated towards dinosaurs and
Toy Story.
Yeah, Toy Story. Our baby loves Toy Story. Superheroes, and so they are, like, right now at least they're kind of those stereotypical genders that you would think, and that wasn't necessarily by design. That just seemed to be pretty natural to them.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. In my mind, I'll kind of internalize, like, what I would be like with the daughter, and kind of watching Jerry and what he does versus a son. And before I had kids, I always would say, like, I want a son first, because I feel like I can, like, this sounds stupid, but I feel like I can make mistakes, like rough them up a little bit, and you won't break them. But and it's like the classic kind of almost macho way to think about stuff, and it's not right. It's just what you are thinking going into it.
I said the same thing.
I don't know. It's just kind of it's crazy to think about, but I still feel like I would. When I have a daughter, like, I don't know if I'm, like, body slamming her on the couch the same way I'm body slamming Bryce. You don't know.
I think it depends on the daughter's personality too, because Peyton sometimes is crazy. You know what I mean? So, like, she likes, like, I don't say wrestling, but you know what I mean. She likes to, like, jump on you and kind of play. So it's easier, but But yeah, it is. I mean, but I think it's different too. What you have first, like you said, like I was used to a girl. I don't know what it's like to have a boy, and I'm sure when Mike you had Ari at first, it was like that's all you knew. So until
Right.
you have something different, it's like okay, that's just how every day is.
Well, my
Yeah,
next question is going to be. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll just say, I will say, I wrestle with Ari. Rough wrestle. Of course, being a dad, take it a little far sometimes, and the kids end up crying. But so girls can take all that too.
That's actually what I was getting to, because I've been at Jerry's house when the three of your kids were playing, like on the Nugget couch, and I'm watching, and my kid had just started walking, and he wants to go over there and like join in on the fun, and Ari was manhandling the two boys, like they're grabbing them, throwing them off the top of the couch onto another couch. So it was kind of fun to see that. How do they interact with each other, kind of being a mix of boy and girl? Is it just all siblings playing together, or do you notice any differences?
Yeah, it's interesting, and the dynamic has changed over the years. When we had Braden, it was April 2020, so at the very beginning of COVID, when no one was going anywhere, and having a newborn, not knowing much about COVID, we certainly weren't trying to do many things. And Ari and James played together amazingly. It made the lockdown so nice because they got along so well. Now that Braden's older, there's a little bit of a triangle going on where there's a kind of a competition for, who gets to play with Braden, and so sometimes the boys are ganging up together and ganging up on Ari, and other times Ari can convince Braden to band with her and gang up on the middle kids. So it kind of depends on the day, or even the hour, but I think Ari and James now at 7 and 5, they butt heads a lot more than they used to.
Yeah, I think that's obviously gonna. I have lots of siblings, 5 older sisters and a younger brother, and obviously I think that the dynamics change as age goes on. That'll never stop to a degree.
Right.
Personalities obviously matter too.
You were
but people
born with
change.
middle child syndrome, and it hasn't stopped.
Yeah. Okay. Well, also, aren't you the middle child too?
No,
technically you're the
I'm
oldest.
not.
You're the oldest. Never mind. I always forget,
Technically,
yeah.
I'm the oldest. No,
Technically,
I'm actually the
Yeah,
oldest.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had to do the math in my head. I'm like, well, Jay's young. I'm like, oh yeah, your sister's younger too. Never mind. So I was like, scrap that. Anyways, but obviously with Ari being the oldest now at 7, you've kind of gone through a number of different stages, because it seems like kids. I mean, I used to think like, okay, yeah, a kid 1 through 3, and then they change. You know what I mean? But no, like kids are changing constantly, month to month. What has been kind of your favorite stage, would you say, or age that has been your favorite thus far?
Yeah, that's such a tough question because, there's truly good things and not so good things about each age. I do, I do, right now, my 3-year-old Braden, there's something about that age, kind of that 2 to 3 range. They're just so cute. In my opinion, I think that's probably the cutest age. And
That's
once
not
they
what I thought you were about to say.
they can communicate with you, and so I just love them. I just want to chase them down and kiss them all the time. But it's a frustrating age too, because terrible 2s and terrorist 3s. And he's there. He's crying all the time, throwing fits. So, in some ways, that age is kind of my favorite. But there are days and times where that age can be really rough. I think there's a tendency to just really enjoy where your oldest is at. I mean, because you're experiencing it for the first time. I mean, Ari's in 1st grade, and it's really interesting hearing what she's learning about, and communicating with her in a way that you can't communicate with the other 2 because she's just older. sending your kids to school is an interesting experience, and so I that's not really a very good answer, I think, but I will say my least favorite is those first couple months, the newborn baby phase.
You're
In
really
general,
pumping
it's
me
just
up
not
here,
my
Mike.
favorite. I know, no, I just, don't get me wrong. There's good things about that too. It's just I found that challenging.
Well, it can be, and I think that, I mean, there's literally scientific evidence that men in general struggle more with that newborn stage than women do. And it's tough because you don't have the personality yet, and obviously you can't communicate with them, but at least they get personalities pretty quick. But I noticed with Peyton, it was like she started getting a personality, but it was a month or so in. Those first few weeks, there's not much personality. It's sleeping or crying.
Yeah, that
or
first
screaming.
smile is huge. When they can
It is.
smile at you, that makes a world of difference.
It does. It's funny you mentioned the story about Braden though, and can be cute but also crying. Because I remember this past weekend when we were at my dad's for the Memorial Day party. I remember seeing him, and you're like, "Oh, he's crying." I was like, "Yeah, he looks upset." And then I literally turned around, looked back, and all of a sudden he was laughing and running away. I was like, "Oh, now he's happy." So I think that was in a
Yeah.
nutshell his age. Like he went from
Yes.
crying and laughing in like the same walk. Like nothing happened. Like in between the walk, like he was just walking along the grass, and I was like, "Okay, all right, he's good now." So that
Yes.
works though. It's better than
Mo-
yeah. I'll take if a kid can bounce back that quick, because a quick bounce back is key for sure.
Yes.
So through the years, obviously, Brandon and myself, we're kind of nerds when it comes to baby gear. We like to learn about new baby gear and study it up. What would you say is your favorite piece of baby gear, or you get the most use out of it? And when I say baby gear, it doesn't mean baby. I mean, I'm talking anything
Yeah.
that you've had for your kids that you think has just been fantastic.
Yeah, I'm probably not quite the nerds that you guys are, but I will say when your kids, and it's about age 4, when they can move from a car seat to a booster, that is such a great feeling because the boosters are so much easier to take in and out. If you're at work taking somebody to lunch, you can just toss the booster in the back seat. That was kind of a game changer. So we're like a year away from being done with the car seats. So definitely looking forward to that. We got a lot of use out of our baby Bjorn. One of the things we like to do is go hiking, and so we took the kids hiking, even when they were 6 months old, and so the baby Bjorn we had, enabled us to do that, and we also got another carrier designed for bigger kids. I can't remember what that one's called, but Brienne would put Braden on her back, back. Even just a few months ago. He's getting a little bit heavy for that now. You can hurt your back. But one of our friends actually kept carrying her kid on hikes till he was like 5 years old, which is kind of crazy. But those are the two big things that come to mind. But now, James is in T-ball, so I got to do the fun thing of shopping for a batting or a batting helmet. Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
A glove. So that was fun and a new experience too.
Yeah, I've seen all these kids in T-ball lately, and I'm got like, and you never want to wish past a stage because, like you said, there's pros and cons, everything. But it does get you like, man, that looks. I mean, that's fun. That's exciting. Seeing these kids play like T-ball, or even kids play like softball and volleyball and soccer and the sports thing's definitely fun, especially at a younger age because it's not as crazy as it can get when they get older. So definitely looking forward to that as well. So, yeah, for sure. Shopping for a baseball glove or first pair of ice skates if there's hockey.
Yes.
That's kind of a cool moment that you'll have for probably the rest of your life,
Yeah, definitely.
So, Mike A., appreciate the time today because you said a couple questions ago that you weren't answering it great, and I completely disagree with you because you started saying things that I like. Even the fact or thought of sending my kid to school, I had not thought about that yet. It just freaked me out. So hey, thanks for that. But kind of speaking of getting freaked out, I don't know if I have ever been. I don't know if you want to call it more in tune with your emotions, but emotional in general since I started having kids, and I have seen like a shift in my emotions in general since kids came. Is there anything you noticed just in general about how you've changed since fatherhood?
Yeah, I think there's some saying out there that guys turn into softies when they become dads, and I think that's true to some degree. Um, you know, I don't know. That's a tough question. I think a family is what I always wanted. I always wanted 3 kids. So a lot of times I just think to myself, this is exactly where I wanted to be at this stage in life, and I feel really lucky that I get to say that. And so, sometimes the day to day is tough, and we have a lot of family, a lot of people to see, and gets busy. And sometimes I just really crave a day at home where we can sit around and do nothing, which we don't get to do a lot. But I try to just take a step back and be thankful, because this is what I wanted, and things are going pretty well in general. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that I think that definitely answers the question, and I'll give you a softie here, a softie layup here, if you will. So we talked a little bit about going from 1 to 2 kids, but would you say for those maybe out there that are going from maybe 2 to 3, was 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 tougher in your opinion?
Yeah, and there was disagreement on that between my wife Brienne and I on that. I thought going from 1 to 2 was harder than going from 2 to 3, and she felt the opposite. But I don't think we felt super strongly about it. I don't know that I have a great reason why I felt that way. I never felt like a real shock to the system. The biggest shock to the system I felt was with the first one, when you're in the hospital, feeding's not going well, you're leaving the hospital, and you're just wondering, how the next couple days are going to go. I never really had that with number 2 or number 3. Life's definitely crazy with 3. Our other 2 were potty trained by 3 years old. Our baby is 3 years and 1 month now, and he still is. We're still working on it. And so I've heard people say the more you have, the less of a shock it is each time, and to me that sounds kind of right. I mean, obviously I don't know what it feels like to have more than 3. That seems kind of crazy in today's today's world, but 3 is tough sometimes, but that's what we wanted, and it works pretty good for us.
Yeah,
it's kind of like basketball. Like, you got 1, you can still play man-to-man defense. You're good. The minute you start introducing more than the 2 parents, you got to play a zone. So some people prefer zone, some people prefer man-to-man. That's the way I look at it.
It is funny how many people think it used to be. I don't know. I feel like all of us, we grew up around the same time, right? It wasn't rare to see families of 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, right? And nowadays, if you have 3 kids, people look at you like that's crazy, right? Like, oh, you have 3 kids, or you're planning on having 3 kids, and it's just funny because I felt like growing up, everyone had at least a few siblings, but I think at least what I've noticed is that 1 and 2 are becoming more common than 3, 4, 5. So I don't, maybe just expenses.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely that's statistically true. Birth rates are down. I think you're right. Daycare costs are huge, and even more so than when we were kids. The vast majority of moms are working, which makes it hard. People have move around more, so family isn't nearby to help as much. So all those factors, if we had to do 3 by ourselves with, we're very fortunate. My parents help a lot. Your parents, Jerry, help us a lot, and that makes a world of difference.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot here. Is having the team or I think I called them support staff one time, and Brandon gave me crap. But having the team around you that can support you.
I gave you crap because that's literally how you think.
But anyways, having those people that can help you out is makes the world a difference. Because like you said, I don't know how you do it without them. One thing I like to ask, kind of in conclusion, Mike, and we try to ask every dad that's on this show is, there's a lot of people that have listened to us that either have kids or about to have kids. Maybe they're new to the dad game. If you could give any advice to a new dad or a dad that's maybe expecting, what would be the one piece of advice you'd want to give to someone about being a dad?
I would say try not to stress out too much. For the new dad, don't stress if, breastfeeding was the goal and that's not going super well. Babies don't sleep through the night right away. Take a deep breath. It'll pass. Every stage has different worries. You send your kid to kindergarten and you're worried about, are they going to make friends? And so you can keep yourself up at night worrying about that stuff, and that's my personality is a little bit of a worrier. So, my biggest piece of advice would be, take a deep breath. Just love them. That's the best thing you can do. Love them, hug them, kiss them, and it'll all work out just fine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's great advice. It's something I try to do because I'm constantly, like you, worrying or stressed out about something or trying to get to the next stage or whatever it is, but just appreciating the moments, So even if, like, I know the other day Peyton was being crazy at bedtime, like screaming, and I started rocking her and she calmed down, and I was like, I'm just going to enjoy her being calm, while I'm rocking her for a few moments instead of just going to bed being like, gosh, I'm glad she's asleep, because I don't know how long I'm going to be able to rock her to sleep. So try to enjoy every single moment while you can. I think is great advice for sure.
For sure. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't rock Ari to bed every night, but I do sing her a song and still put her to bed at 7.5. So you got some time.
There you go. Yes, and if not, I got another little one on the way. So
right.
That's why you have more kids, right?
Right.
Well, thanks, Mike. I think that was a lot of good advice and a lot of good answers to some, like you said, some tough questions. And it's good hearing from someone with multiple kids because, like I said, most of the people we've talked to have either one or expecting one. So it's always good hearing from new perspectives. But now we get to go into the fun stuff. We get to hear some more dad jokes. I have a dad joke, and then we're going to hear one from Mike. So I'll go first if you guys are ready. You guys ready for me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What do you call a magician who lost their magic?
A shin. Or Ian.
Ian, there you go. You got it eventually. A shin. Ian, that was it. I actually have another one that was semi-decent. I'll give you guys a 2 for 1. What do you call an angry counselor? Therapist.
A parent. Therapist. Okay. It's pretty good.
Yes. Those are my 2 for the day. They were PG ones today because sometimes we like to venture closer to the PG-13 line. But those are PG ones today. Mike, you got a dad joke for us today.
I do. Maybe more of like a dad comment than a dad joke.
Okay.
But I read this and I chuckled, and I see all our facial hair, so it seems to apply. Yeah. I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me.
Nice.
That is a dad joke.
That is a dad joke.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I've really been working hard. It's the longest my facial hair has ever been. It's been a struggle for me my whole life.
Stop.
It looks good.
It does not. Do not lie to him, Mike.
You better be careful, Gerald.
I'll be careful. I like it. Well, Mike, we appreciate you being on the show. For everyone out there who has either been a long-time listener and maybe hasn't liked our stuff on social media, followed us on Instagram or any of that kind of stuff, please do. Or if you're a first-time listener and you don't know, we have Facebook page, Instagram page, a TikTok page. Please like all that good stuff. Write a review, send us comments, let us know what you think. We like hearing from each and every single one of you. Or even if you'd like to be on the show like Mike was today, you can always let us know, and we'd love to have you on and talk about something that's important to you. But for Mike and Brandon, until next time, I'm Jerry, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.